I did that a long time ago. It'll be 51 years. 50 was on my birthday. Right there.
Good evening and welcome to the Garfield Heights City School District regular board meeting, Monday, May 15th, 2023. I call this meeting to order. Mr. Oko, can I get roll call, please?
Mr. Isom, Ms. King,
Here.
Ms. Morrison,
Here.
Ms. Thomas,
Here.
Mrs. Daniels.
Could you please let the record reflect that Ms. Daniels has an excused absence? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Madam President,
Ms. Morrison?
before we adopt the agenda, can I ask that we table table Mr. Gordon Dupree until the June work session?
And that's under 8.9.1.
9.1.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so can I get roll call?
Yes. Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Did we say that's 9.1?
Yes.
Should be in the,
It's under administrative contracts.
Are we tabling the entire 9.1 or just,
just Dr. Dupree
okay,
as a rehire, retire, rehire, we have to do a hearing.
okay. I was just making sure it was just that of the 9.1, not the entire 9.1. I second that, or yes.
Ms. King.
Yes. Did you call Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if I could get a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
That's moved by Ms. Morrison and seconded by Ms. Thomas. Could I get roll call, please?
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes. All right, if we could take a moment of silent reflection and then have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Morrison.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can I get a motion to approve the minutes for our April 11th special board meeting, our April 17th regular board meeting, and our April 24th board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
So that was moved by Ms. Thomas, second by Ms. Morrison. Can I get roll call, please?
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes. Thank you. Now we'll move into the board president's report. Thank you all very much, and on behalf of the Garfield Heights City Schools, I congratulate the graduating class of 2023 who will participate in an annual commencement ceremony on Thursday, June 1st, 2023 at the Cleveland Public Auditorium. One trait that truly describes the senior class is tenacity. Members of the class have striven to succeed conquered and overcome barriers and are departing our school district equipped to become future contributing members of our community. We collectively wish them well in their future endeavors, and you, the community, will learn more about this class in further reports. As the community knows, the Garfield Heights City Schools was not successful on the May ballot, and the district wishes to thank the people who supported our levy. Please know that while we were unsuccessful, the school district will continue to be committed to fulfilling the district's strategic plan. Over the last several weeks, the Garfield Heights City Schools has been a very busy place, including the regular year-end activities, events, and performances. In attending a handful of these student-led activities, it becomes apparent that the Garfield Heights City Schools students are among some of the most responsible, gifted, hardworking, and talented children I've ever seen. Choral performances, the wonderful performers of this year's spring play in Pride and Prejudice, and the very other creative arts events have demonstrated that our students are powerful and that they have a great deal of bulldog pride. Do they achieve the level of competence and confidence on their own? Our students rely on the intensive support network of our staff and advisors to mentor our students to destinations towards which they never thought they'd ever achieve. For that, the Board of Education commended our teachers and staff during National Teacher Appreciation Week during the week of May 8th. The combined talents of our teachers, staff, and other adults in this district with our students make the Garfield Heights City Schools home to achieving our mission, which is to remain the heart of the community and train students to become engaged citizens and future leaders. Please note that the last day of school will be Friday, June 2nd for all elementary students and Wednesday, June 7th for the remainder of the district. Thank you very much for another successful school year. This concludes my report. Are there any other committee reports?
Madam Chair, I have a report.
Ms. Thomas?
I have a report for CDCC. Our student of the month was Gabriella Gabby Castillo. She's a junior here at Garfield Heights High School and enrolled in our dental assisting program. She always appreciates the atmosphere of a dental office. She always appreciated the atmosphere of a dental office growing up and wanted to learn more about this very fascinating field. She has greatly appreciated meeting other like-minded people in her program. She has also participated in the student organization, HOSA, and got to compete, which was very exciting for her. Her favorite part of the program is the lab work component, as it brings on a hands-on element that she enjoys. The book work can be a lot to keep up with, but Gabby knows how important that element is to the program as well. Overall, she has loved her experience at CBCC. Her fellow classmates and the teaching staff have made her time very comfortable. She's involved in the flag line and heads the crew for the show choir at our high school. She also recently started working at a local Panera. In her free time, she enjoys crocheting and making bags. She learned the skill from her grandmother. She also enjoys drawing, writing, and reading. After high school, she plans to continue her education. She hopes to stay in the dental field and work while she's going to college. Her goal is to be an orthodontist assistant or maybe even an orthodontist one day. Best of luck, Gabby. Keep up the great work. During our April board meeting, we discussed that May 3rd was our senior recognition night. May 10th was our last day for seniors. May 18th, this coming Thursday, we will recognize outstanding seniors at our board meeting. That meeting will begin at 5:30 for the recognition and 6:30 for our regular board meeting. We had a presentation by our Power Equipment Technology program, which is a very unique program. It houses our power mowing and robotics. Within 5 years, they've experienced a lot of changes with technology constantly changing. Right now, we have 17 students in our senior class, 13 in our junior, and this upcoming year, we have a wait list of 14 students, which is new to that specific program. Work-based learning is also a big component in that program. We have 14 students in work-based learning this year. A lot of them have big offers. Over 82% of them who are graduating have offers this year. We've seen a 30% increase in our industry credential tests. At least 3 students are going into post-secondary out of that senior class, and 3 out of 4 of their juniors placed in the state competition at Skills USA. Overall, for Skills USA, we had 60 students participate. A good amount of them were juniors. 14% of them placed, 3 of them went to nationals. And then for the DECA competition, we would like to recognize Rayvon Irwin, who placed second place in laundry operations, and Diego Fuentes, who placed first place in interview skills, as well as first place in retail clothing. We also got a refinance report, and it reported that we are $500,000 ahead of our forecast. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Are there any other reports?
Madam Chair, I have a quick wellness liaison report.
Ms. Morrison?
I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Pernod and Music Express. Last Thursday, they went to the Rock Hall and were the flash mob for Bootsy Collins' Funk Not Fight campaign.
All right.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. I wish I could have been a part of that flash mob down there with Bootsy. All right, I have a legislative liaison report. Out of the House Primary and Secondary Education Committee, the committee passed HB 117, which would eliminate retention under the 3rd grade reading guarantee and will expand the grades for which intensive reading intervention is provided. The bill also modifies the English language arts assessment to be administered once in the 3rd grade and expands the inclusion of phonics and learning standards. OSBA, OAESA, VASA, and OASBO also spoke for this bill. The committee also held its second hearing on HB 103, which would establish the Ohio Social Studies Standards Task Force to develop new social studies academic standards for use beginning with the 2024-25 school year. We need to keep an eye on that one because they really want to shift what is being taught in social studies. The committee held its 4th hearing for HB 8. This bill would enact the Parents' Bill of Rights to require public schools to adopt a policy on parental notification regarding student health and well-being and instructional materials with sexually explicit content. The State Board of Education update, they met on May 8th and 9th to conduct official business, and it appointed Chris Woolard as interim state superintendent. That completes my report. Are there any other committee reports?
May I ask a question about your report?
Sure.
For House Bill 117, you said it eliminates the retention of the 3rd grade reading guarantee. So does that mean if students do not pass the reading guarantee, they can still move on to the 4th grade?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or any other reports? All right. Next, we have recognitions and commendations, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. As many of you know, we'd love an opportunity to increase our presence in the world of STEM and STEAM. As you've seen recently at William Foster, who hosted the STEM night, was a great turnout. And now we want to continue to do this and for this to be a part of what we do as a school district. So right now we would love an opportunity to recognize one of our scholars, and Ms. Malik will present the scholar and the presentation of the evidence of math.
I'm Suzanne Malik. I teach at the high school, and this year my students participated in NCTM, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics 2023 challenge. I asked them to use the numbers 2, 0, 2, and 3, and any math symbols or operations, and form problems with the answers from 1 to 100. I started it with 1 to 20 and planned on it being bell work for the day. One of my students, Aiden Bailey, who is here tonight, had 1 to 20 done in the first 15 minutes of class. So, ruined my bell work for the day. So on Monday, I printed a poster of 1 to 50 and said that I only put a couple of his on to give everybody else for the rest of the day a chance to get 1 to 50, and especially that 1 to 20. Before lunch, Aiden came to me with 48 out of the 50 completed. He has gone on to find, on the side wall there is all of his work from all of the scraps of paper that he has given me. He has found 95 out of the 100 math problems. I have talked to teachers all over the world, and as of last night, no one has discovered those last 5. So as math teachers, we are thinking that those 5 cannot be solved, which is totally possible. Aiden got no help from me whatsoever. He did this totally on his own. The only thing that I did teach him is what a double factorial meant, because that was something that is not part of the high school curriculum, but it was something that NCTM allowed us to use. So I taught him that. The rest of it, he discovered totally on his own. I was competing along with the kids, and I did not cheat off of his. The only thing I have done is verify that his answers are right, and he surpassed me a long time ago.
Wow, that's
So, Aiden, if you'll come up, Dr. Reynolds has a few things for you.
We'd like to present you with the certificate of achievement to the future Dr. Bailey. And we also want to provide you with this medal. Thank you. And this ribbon as well. Thank you. And please continue. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. So for all those folks who have struggled in algebra, I think we found a new tutor within the building. So we're very appreciative of your work and your curiosity and really wanting to do more. The initial assignment was only 20. We knocked that out and wanted to do more. And that's what we want for our children, for them to want more, want to do more. And the outcome will be successful for you. I can guarantee you that. So thank you so much. Thank you. And can we get a picture in here? I want to make sure I get a picture with each other right here. I'm taking a picture with him, not him with me.
all right. Got it.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to say? Or you're a shy guy like me?
Kind of shy.
We're very proud of you. Thank you. We thank you so much. All right. Thank you, sir.
So I think we have a future code breaker because he notices patterns
Yeah.
like nothing else.
So thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Aiden is a freshman. Oh, wow.
And it's also Miss Val's birthday. So happy birthday. Happy birthday. And thank you so much.
Aiden, congratulations and keep up the good work. I can't wait to see what the next 3 years, what we see and we hear about you and your success, because we're just now hearing that you are a freshman. So I look forward to what's to come in the next 3 years, and I'm sure you'll be gracing us again in this boardroom. Please keep up the good work and continue to be that role model and excellent scholar that you are. Thank you.
And just to add, Ms. Mallett, I want to thank you as well. Our scope and sequence tells us this is the area that we should focus on. but you saw fit that you saw a student who needed more, who was curious about more, and you provided that for them. That's what we need for our teachers to do as well. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. And again, happy birthday.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Reynolds.
All right. Thank you, Madam Vice President. I begin my report with some very important news that impacts the elementary school families. And I ask you all to kindly take note of this message. Effective on 2023-24 school year, the elementary buildings will be reconfigured to promote uniformity in instruction among grades and enhance collaboration among teachers and the student body in those buildings. Therefore, beginning next school year, all elementary students in grades pre-K to kindergarten and first will attend William Foster. All elementary students grades 2 and 3 will attend Elmwood Elementary. All elementary students in grades 4 and 5 will attend Maple Leaf. In order to accommodate this change, Friday, June 2nd will be the last day of school for all elementary students. Monday, June 5th, Tuesday, June 6th will be days reserved for teachers and staff to assemble their belongings and personal items as needed. Grade level teams will begin working together on June 7th to prepare for the upcoming year. This decision to reconfigure was solidified as a result of committee of teachers, staff members, and administrators who had been meeting for the last several months to determine the responsible method in which we can improve student educational and academic experiences at elementary levels. Garfield Heights City Schools believes that academic structuring and planning will become much more convenient, consistent, and aligned. Our goal was to identify a new and meaningful approach to academically improve the district's youngest students, and the administration is excited about the future. Additionally, we will be conducting a series of coffee and conversation meetings to allow feedback from parents beginning this Wednesday at Elmwood from 8:20 to 9 o'clock, Monday, May 22nd at William Foster, and Wednesday, May 24th at Maple Leaf. Thank you for your support with this significant decision. In other news, the Garfield Heights City Schools formally thanks the teachers and staff members of the school district during the annual celebration of National Teacher Appreciation Week. While recognition of our staff members is worthy each and every day, it is only appropriate that this week is set aside in May for all of us to take a moment to pull a teacher or support staff member aside and express our respective gratitude for the role they play in the students' lives. Our Garfield Heights teachers are dedicated, they are motivated, they are leaders, and they are the driving forces in our children's lives. We celebrate our teachers and staff, and we thank you very much. I look forward to seeing everyone at commencement on Thursday, June 1st at Public Hall. Congratulations to the class of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Do we have any remarks from the public regarding agenda items? And I have, that's a non-agenda item. Okay, so we will come back to that. All right, could I get a motion to adopt move and waive 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5.
I have the forecast presentation.
We'll do that during discussion. Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, so that was moved by Ms. Thomas and second by Ms. Morrison. And now we'll go into discussion. Mr. Okul?
It's the time of the year, it's forecast season. Rashad, it's-
You started it.
Might just restarted.
Oh, let's just here for a second. Should have a Windows update. It just restarted when it updates. Sorry. I think it was Windows update.
It's all right. There it is.
Probably.
I can do it for you without the presentation, if you want.
It's just that.
It just restarted, need to do an update, that's all. It always does.
Murphy's Law.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Sherry. Yeah. Plug it into that one. Good?
Yep,
I know.
you're good.
All right. All right. Sorry about that. Well, thank you guys for having me. This is the May updates and the forecast for fiscal years 23 through 27. Before I get into it, I just want to thank everyone for their participation in helping put this together from a district-wide perspective. The board gives me the power to put this forecast together, but it takes all the departments, buildings, everyone around to make sure that we can get something on paper for the state and kind of put together the financial directive of the district. Another note that I would like to bring up is that we use the most accurate data that we can when we put this together. So there is a lot of talk about a new budget proposal for state funding, the Fair School Funding Plan. We cannot use that based on what we currently get from the state today. So what this forecast is based on are the assumptions that we get every month from the state, which is based on the 2018 expenditure per pupil. The new funding formula changes it and has really, really big consequential changes to our forecast if it were to go through. But as we know, the General Assembly may not pass it, they may pass it, they might change it between now and June 30th. So we have to use what we can, and that'll change as it always does. So the purpose is a couple of legal ones. We have to do this for myself to be able to certify the 412 certificate for the state. It also is important for the state to identify districts that have potential financial problems or issues that are coming in the out years of the forecast outside of the 2-3 that they can see. But the most important purpose of the forecast is to engage the Board of Education, the community, the stakeholders, so that we can put together a financial directive of the district that meets our goals, academic and financial together. So with that, we will start with revenues. And I gave you guys 2 sheets. One is the full forecast and one is kind of an abbreviated, balance sheet for what we're looking at. So we'll start with revenues and we'll go over some of the drivers. There are 2 main buckets for which we are funded by the state and the community. Property taxes make up one of those. It's mostly residential, but it can include commercial, industrial, and proper utility, public utility, proper utility. And then the second bucket is our ODE funding, which is our core foundational funding, which is the Fair School Funding Plan and everything that encompasses it. And then also the tax reimbursements that the state pays us directly through the county. Those are your property tax allocations, such as the rollbacks and the homestead exemptions. So if we look at the overview of our district from 2022 through the out years of 2027, you'll see that as the forecast moves forward, we become more reliant on state funding. Our real estate drops as we move forward, and we can see that we have renewals up in 2026 and 2027, and that's kind of the driver for why we're moving towards a more reliance on state funding. It also encompasses the fact that the state funding is being phased in over that time. So you'll see that our state funding will increase in some portions rather than others, but by all means, at the end of the day, our revenue overview looks like we have a stable increase, if any, through the out years of the forecast. The orange portions, again, are the renewal levy that we will have up in 26 for collection in 27. Those are not given. So we have to take into account that those are not on the books, and we only are going to collect what's in that blue bar up until then. We do have to pass those renewals. So we'll dive into the real estate portion of it. You'll see that in 2022, we had a higher collection rate given that it came out of COVID and the county over collected. We kind of came back down to the mean in 2023. And moving forward into the out years, you'll see that there's a significant drop in 26 and 27 without the renewal levies. Even if we pass the renewal levies, our real estate and property tax funding is going to stay pretty stabilized. It's not going to jump up incrementally very much with that. You'll also see that the real estate percentage as total revenue will drop as we move through the out years of the forecast. The second portion of our funding, which is the majority of it, is the state aid part. The Fair School Funding Plan is designed for districts like us. We are a formula district, but unfortunately the way that the state works it is that we are a formula district, but we're capped. We are not gaining the full value of the formula because they cap it at the 2018 expenditure levels, and the phase-in that they do is incremental across a 6-year period. So for core funding, we're only being phased in at about 33%. We're capped because we're at the 2018 expenditure levels. You'll see the orange bars, we lose money in some years, a little bit, but not, we still lose it because the way that it's funded is the cap hurts us with the enrollment numbers that we have. The green bar is increasing and has pushed our revenue collection higher this year, and that's because the accelerated phase-in of the DPIA part, which is a restricted part of the formula, which is used for support services, tutoring, summer school, just not core instructional, but support wraparound services is increasing, and the funding is increasing at a higher accelerated rate. The state likes to put all of this funding in different phase-in percentages across different years, so it's not all going to be the same moving forward. So with all of that, we'll move to the expenditures and where our money goes. The expense drivers for our district are personnel benefits and purchase services. The overview shows that over time, our expenditures are moving more towards the bulk being salaries and benefits. we're about 75% in 2022 salaries and benefits combined. By 2027, we're about 83% salaries and benefits. The state has a benchmark for districts to keep it around 80% to maintain operational functionality for districts. You'll see that 2024, or actually 2023 into 2024, and then 2024 into 2025, there are incremental jumps, large jumps that are, they differ from what we see on the revenue collection basis. The new CBA, and along with the ESSER money, the COVID cliff, as we like to call it, comes into effect in 2025, and it really jumps, and it's not, our revenue cannot keep up with the expenditure piece, if you remember the graphs that we had on the revenue overview. So if we jump into personnel services, you'll see that across the out years in the forecast will be about 60% of our total expenditures will be salaries. Again, that 2024 to 2025 jump is about $2.5 million. That is ESSER money coming back into the general fund for the forecast. This is something we have to address now. We cannot wait because it will put us into a significant, deficit spending mode, and we won't be able to keep up with it. The same trend is going to be seen across with benefits. About $1 million in 2024 to 2025 will be coming back because the fringe part is also included in ESSER. So the overarching theme for the expenditures so far is that revenue is going to stay pretty stagnant. It can grow a little bit, if any, but the expenditures are going to blossom and really grow as we hit into next fiscal year. And then 2025 is the big, alarm year for us as a district. I threw in purchase services. It's only about 12% of our total expenditures a year. It's the third largest bucket, but you can see in 2022, we had a 44% drop in purchase services. That was because the state changed the way they funded open enrollment for districts. So instead of paying Garfield Heights to pay another district, they instead just followed the student to the district, paid them directly. So we saw a change in that. All else, it looks like it's pretty stable moving through the out years of the forecast. So now we'll get to the summer. In May, it's a unique forecasting time because we have about 1.5 months left until we're done with fiscal year 23, so we can get a really good, accurate picture of fiscal year 23. You'll see that we're collecting more than we originally forecasted in 2023, and that's because of the DPIA funding from the state. The accelerated phase-in pushed us over. Our tax collections are running pretty even, if not a little bit less, but the DPI pushes us over, and it forecasts to do the same thing next year. The expenses are running a $30,000 variance, which is really good. We're really on target with that, and that's really important moving into next year and the year after. The forecast for 2024 has us a little bit over what was projected in November, but it's within a 1% variance, and it's a great starting point moving into planning for next year and for 2025. The forecast summary is, this might be the most important slide of this whole presentation. You'll see in fiscal year 2024, we are running a surplus budget, but just a little bit over. 2025, we really hit that COVID cliff. You'll see that our expenditures flip and add some to it. The ESSER money returning is I'm going to keep saying it over. It's a realistic problem we have to address. You'll see that in correlation with the deficit budget we'll be utilizing in fiscal year 25, our cash balance, that yellow line, starts to dip. And when it hits 2027 with the current, we're no longer in compliance with Ohio budgetary law. We don't have any cash reserves. The renewal levies in the orange there, it helps, but it doesn't fix. You'll see that our expenditures are growing far more than we can collect in revenue moving forward without significant action moving into the out years. And finally, I was talking about the Fair School Funding Plan. The update is a significant one for Garfield Heights. The 2022 base cost components being put into the biennial budget that the House passed 2 weeks ago that the Senate is moving forward with, as it seems right now, is going to bring $3.5 million in unrestricted formula money by 2027. It's a significant investment in districts and formula districts like us. Not only that, but it's also a step forward by updating to the 2024 component base cost for 26 and 27, so that's fully phased in by 2027. The significance of this can be shown in our fund cash balance. You'll see that if all else stayed equal today, and we spent as the plan goes with no changes, we would be out of money by fiscal year 2027. Like, we would have no cash balance left. If we spent with all else equal with the new plan and didn't make any changes, we'd buy a few years, and you'd see that our cash balance would still be, we'd be above water by 2027. This is not the long-term fix. We're still going to be running a deficit budget with or without the new fair school funding plan. So finally, I'm sorry. My recommendations would be to work to address the deficit spending in 2025. We have to mitigate the COVID cliff effect, and that's the number one priority, to make sure that we're financially sound moving forward. And the next and final point is that there will be a possible amended forecast given the changes that we're looking forward to in July. It's going to change our forecast so much that we have to file a new one with the state. With that, I will open up the questions. I try to be fast.
Any questions for Mr. Oko? I do have a
Yes.
question, well, making sure that I'm understanding. I like to make sure that we have a couple of payrolls in the bank. It looks like in 2023, we probably just have one payroll period in the bank.
Oh no, we're
Okay?
Yes, we're okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading the wrong row.
So that this only encompasses the general fund. This doesn't
Okay.
encompass all of our funds that we
Because
have.
we have
We
the,
have our bond
title
retirement,
and-
yes, all of those
oh,
funds,
okay.
yeah.
okay.
So
Okay. So my other question is, and you probably can't answer it fully now, what is the plan to help us mitigate what we know as the COVID cliff?
So there are a few things that we can do as a district that Dr. Reynolds and I and a lot of the department heads have been working on to kind of but mitigate it. So what we have to do is we have to look at who's staffed under ESSER. If they're returning, we need to see do we place them again? Do we shift them back into general now? How do we do that? If they're not returning, we play the attrition game with that and we move forward. Are there funds we can shift them in? Are there areas that we can put them in that would kind of relieve the general fund, and we can make that move now so that we're saving ourselves time, buying time essentially by moving folks into different funds to shift it so we can work through that. The other, I think, possibility is kind of do some accounting magic, right? And run back expenditures all the way to 2020 and bring that money into the general fund so we can kind of move forward into 2024 and 2025 to make sure that we are staffed correctly and that we have the cash balance to sustain us while we make those final moves in 2024. 2023 we'll make initial ones, but 2024 is the real year we have to do things to move that forward. We can carry $500,000 back into the general fund, but 2.5 million we cannot. And
Can I add to that just a little bit? The key to this is to not wait until we're there. It is planning and doing some things and being very intentional about where positions are, so that some positions that should be coming out of title, they're not coming out of general funds. And it's us taking a look at all the positions to make sure that they're reporting in the right area. We meet every day, and we're talking about this every single day. And we're trying to figure out exactly what we can do now and not wait until we hit the COVID cliff. the COVID cliff should be something that's a part of our conversation or part of our vocabulary moving forward, because other school districts are in some tough shape when it comes to mitigating for the COVID cliff. But what we're doing right now is just making sure that we are extremely intentional, that we are ahead of the game, so that we don't have to face some dire times.
Are we, and it might be too early to tell, are we realizing any savings with the vamping of the elementary schools?
We are still looking at it right now. There are a couple of areas that we will be able to save in. What those exact numbers are right now, we're still working on that, but just the preliminary findings, but there are a few areas that we will definitely be saving. So we're excited about that portion of it, but there's still more work for us to do.
Thank you. Any other questions? Right. So we'll wait for Mr. Oko. We have 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5 was moved by Ms. Thomas and seconded by Ms. Morrison. Mr. Oko, can I get roll call, please?
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes. Those items are moved. Next, can I get a motion to move and waive 9.1 and 9.2, 10.1, 11.1, 12.1, 12.2, 13.1, 14.1. We'll stop there. There a motion to, so it's basically 9.1 through 14.1. There a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Morrison, is there a second? Second. So it was moved by Ms. Morrison, second by Ms. Thomas. Any discussion?
I have a question. SEL coordinator, is that full-time or part-time?
It is full-time. That is another one of those positions that after really taking a look and developing the academic plan, we can't have an academic plan if we're not also addressing social emotional learning. So in order to make sure that this is a part of what we do, we need someone to drive that part of the work. So that's why we developed the social emotional learning coordinator.
And Dr. Reynolds, the SEL coordinator, who would that person report to? Because I saw the supervisor, pupil personnel, I saw who that person reports to. What about the SEL coordinator?
We're looking at possibly having this person report to our DEI department.
Okay, that's what made sense to me
Yes.
in my head.
Yeah.
And same with Dean of Culture.
Dean of Culture will actually be a part of the building. The Dean of Culture
Would be the principal.
would be under the principal, yes.
Any other discussion? Can I get roll call, Ms. Rocco?
Yes. Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes. Next, could I get a motion to move and waive 15.1 through 15.4, Let's do 15.12. That's a motion to move and waive 15.1 through 15.12.
So moved.
It was moved by Ms. Morrison. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Isom. Any discussion? I do have a question about 15.10, the MOU with Cleveland State. Is this for CCP or student teachers, or? It was a name and it was a change of names on the contract, but the MOU for what? Okay. While Phil's pulling that up, I'm excited about the National Inventors Hall of Fame. I look forward to seeing what our scholars come up with.
It was just an amendment to services
It is.
for the data security officer.
So it was changing the name of the data security, but what is the overall, what are we exchanging data?
Yes. So this is information from someone completing their dissertation, looking for information from the district to
Gotcha.
assist in their dissertation.
Got it.
And our surrounding districts have also participated as well.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Are there any other discussion?
That's all right.
So we have a motion to move and waive the reading of 15.1 through 15.12. Motion by Ms. Morrison and a second by Mr. Isom. Could I get roll call?
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yeah.
Ms. King.
Yes. All right. Can I get a motion to move and waive 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, 16.4, and 16.5?
So moved.
Second.
So that was moved by Ms. Thomas, seconded by Ms. Morrison. Is there any discussion?
So I see that we've got some textbook and curriculum stuff on here. Can we hear a little bit more about that? Super excited to see it.
Yes. So we're looking at a new offering that we're providing in math for our students. This allows us to ensure that some of our students who may not be interested in pursuing some of the higher level math, some of the calculus level or statistics, and I believe we presented this some time ago, just to approve the fact that we wanted to do the curriculum in the first place. But these are the textbooks that go along with this. Our process now is a lot more solid in incorporating kind of the voices of our teachers as well. We have this textbook and as well as the math. It is and I can't see it right here. Miss, could you?
Sure.
tell us a
So
little
you'll
bit?
see on there the big ideas.
Yeah.
I'll just stand. so you can see me.
Yeah.
So on there are two things. The big ideas is for algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. That's a new adoption that they've actually gone through a pilot process for the last year and a half, the teachers. So they took a lot of time. They reviewed 4 different curriculums and they landed on the big ideas as the best fit for our students. And then the other one you'll see on there is the probability and statistics. We are now transferring from a semester course to a year-long course for the students as an Algebra 2 alternative. And it's just updating our current one so that we are now using a more updated version because it is a probability and statistics course, and that we found that it would have better data to support the class for the students. So that's just an updated version of what they currently have for the probability and statistics book. Are there any other questions about math specifically?
Just be ready for Aiden, because he's gonna need.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, I
he's
know,
gonna-
exactly.
He's gonna need something else in a year or so.
And then I think the third thing on there is the MMR, just training for our teachers. I believe you guys approved us piloting that for next year, which is another alternative to Algebra 2 that the state is actually, we're part of their pilot program. And then we need to send our teachers that are going to be teaching that course to training that the state is providing for them. So that's just approving them to have the professional development through the state. I think those are the 3 math things that I have on there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'm also seeing this Amazon Future Engineer course, video game design course, video production, News 2, as a part of our computer science offerings. And then also some language and cultures. That's amazing. Thank you all for whoever did some work in getting those here to this point on our agenda. With the new computer science offerings, do we have a current teacher or staff member who is qualified to teach those courses? And then that's all. Yeah.
Yes, we have a staff member who will be assisting, especially in the high school, in the areas of STEM. As I said a little bit earlier, STEM is an area that usually when I walk into a building or school district, I lead with STEM or STEAM. And this is consistent with what I think is important and opportunities that we can provide for students. And I think students will enjoy some of these new offerings. We wanted to expand the languages for our students as well. We only have particular students who are provide the opportunity to take language courses. That's not consistent with the way I believe that we should be educating kids. So we've made some adjustments with the help of the high school and the teaching and learning team. We were able to come up with a pretty good plan, a very good plan, actually.
And what languages will we be able to provide?
It is expanding our what we're providing for students. I believe that we had some criteria that
In order to get into
the
getting
language.
straight.
Yes. And now we've made some adjustments to ensure that we're opening up for students to really explore. We can't ask kids to do better if we're not showing them or providing them with opportunities to explore some things that may interest them. So this is one of those things, and also what we've also done with the essential experiences as well, where we're getting kids out of the building. All of this is consistent with the academic plan and what we're trying to do to expose our kids to more. This is consistent.
Thank you. Any other questions? Discussion?
With the SEL curriculum, I'm sorry, so many questions, so I'm just
Oh,
so
that's good.
excited. With the social emotional learning inventory that was completed, can the board get a little bit of that data of what our student, staff, and administrators need?
Yes. As you know, the data piece is something that's huge for me. I said I usually walk into the district and there are certain things that I do and data decisions. Decisions based off the data is something that's extremely important to me. Even when we're talking about with some of our offerings, our SEL offerings with some of our partners, we're incorporating a plan of collecting data to ensure that we're doing the right things. But yes, we have no issue with sharing this information. This is something that we're going to be extremely transparent with all of our data, whether we're talking about social emotional learning, academic data, discipline data. That is something that we want to make sure that we are transparent because we're working hard to make some improvements. and we want everyone to see what those improvements are. So yes.
So maybe July, if we can get an update on everything, because it'll be, the school year will be over.
That's the plan.
We'll be able to see,
Yes,
how we've grown, how I'm putting it out there, how we've grown
Yes.
academically,
Yeah.
how we've addressed the social emotional needs of our scholars. I think bringing that whole picture together would be awesome. After a whole year under your leadership.
Yes, ma'am. So
I was going through my files this weekend and I found the 90-day plan. So
oh
we
yeah.
would love to put those side by side.
Oh,
and
yes.
see what we've done.
And you'll find that we've been pretty consistent when it comes to what the plan was. I need a plan in place in order to really give us some direction. And when you have a plan in place, it also allows the folks who are also assisting you with the plan to know exactly what the direction is. So in every area, especially when we're coming to for next year, there will be a plan in place for every department. Every department will have a vision of where we're trying to go, and we'll have those things down on paper, because in order to gain support, everyone needs to know the direction, and that is what we're committed to. So yes, we'll have all of that.
Gotta have shared buy-in.
Yes.
All right, so any other questions, comments? Ms. Thomas? Ms. Morrison, Ms. Dyson? All right, so that was moved by Ms. Thomas, seconded by Ms. Morrison. Can I get roll call, Ms. Jofo?
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yeah.
Ms. King.
Yes. On to remarks from public regarding miscellaneous school items. We have one, and I will read our disclaimer. All meetings of the board and board-appointed committees are open to the public. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation may be permitted at each meeting. Each person addressing the board shall give his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted three minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on the regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Agendas are available to all who attend the board meeting. The section on the agenda for public participation shall be indicated. Noted at the bottom of each agenda shall be a short paragraph, which I'm reading, outlining the board's policy on public participation at board meetings. And so we have Joni Wanderstock, who has signed up to speak. Ms. Wanderstock?
Don't count this as part of my 3 minutes, but I talked to 80 parents about Honor Society next year, so he'll be ready to go. Joni Wanderstock, 10905 Mount View Avenue, Garfield Heights, Ohio. Good evening. I have stood before the Board of Education many times before, but tonight is very different. For tonight, I stand before you not just on my behalf of myself, but also on behalf of parents, colleagues, and residents of Garfield Heights, all of which I am just one of approximately 10 teachers in this district that is a Garfield Heights resident. But even more important is the fact that I stand before you on behalf of countless number of students, including every single one of those that I've taught in the past 10 years. I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to speak at this time. Most of the people in this room either know me or know of me. I've been a teacher in Garfield Heights 38 out of my entire 40-year career, longer than any other teacher in this district. I've only ever been a teacher, which means I've always been in front of a classroom and on the forefront of the learning taking place among students. One of my 4 college degrees happens to be in behavioral disorders, and throughout my entire career, I've always been drawn to the student that is most challenged, especially those that have been challenged behaviorally. Those of you that either know me or know how passionate I am about students, and that is why I'm here to speak from my heart and convey to you a truly legitimate concern. I stand before you with a heavy heart as I am dismayed, disappointed, and truly disheartened about the decision to dismantle the Learning Center as it currently exists. The only rationale I've heard regarding this decision is that there are some who believe there is a negative stigma associated with the LC. I'm here to tell you that I firmly believe the only stigma is one coming from those that are not the LC students themselves. Day after day and year after year for the past decade, I've been in the Learning Center and seen with my own eyes students in this environment. Most are really grateful to have the benefits of a program such as this, which has been proven that they are most apt to succeed at. They have come to understand and appreciate the ramifications of the structure within this program, and this decision to relinquish it as it has been for over a decade has left many of them feeling sad, apprehensive, confused, and concerned with regards to continuing their education in the new environment of the high school. I say this all with conviction as not just a teacher, but also as a person with firsthand experience. For you see, 10 years ago, I was involuntarily transferred and told I would be in charge of an alternative program myself. To say that I was devastated and heartbroken would be, quite frankly, an understatement. I was hurt beyond measure, I felt like a misfit, and in many ways I felt as though this transfer was a punishment. I had to leave all of my friends, my colleagues, and all of the students that for over 3 decades I had formed special bonds and connections with. So I know how these Learning Center kids feel that left the high school to come in. I was relegated to a new position that was filled with doubt and uncertainty. However, once I got over the initial shock and the multitude of changes that ensued, I shortly thereafter began to see all the benefits of my new position and environment. I was able to create a learning, a nurturing, and safer environment away from the high school for students that, for whatever reason, had not found success there. The ability to have small group instruction that more appropriately met the individual needs of my students enabled them all to be successful, and ultimately, not only did my students and I survive this change and placement, we all also thrived. I have had the honor and distinct pleasure of getting to know many of the unsung heroes in this district, which I consider to be the Learning Center staff. Some of the most dedicated and hardest working teachers in this district are there. Just this year, 2 out of the 7 finalists for the Outstanding Educator for GHCS are LC teachers. As for Mr. Bradford, suffice it to say, and without being disrespectful to anyone else, he is the only principal since Marlene Meadows 15 years ago that has ever genuinely cared about me or the students that I served. I am more than concerned that by making this change in the LC location to that of the high school, that we are inevitably setting a certain population up for failure. Those of you that know me as an educator know I never give up on a student, yet the reality is, whether we choose to believe it or not, there is a real likelihood that some of these particular students will not be capable of achieving success in the high school. I can wholeheartedly say this, as all the kids I've had in the last 10 years would not have been. They more than likely would have chosen instead to quit school if they had been at the high school, and thus they would have never received a diploma. Just thinking about all those students I've taught in the last decade never receiving a high school diploma honestly breaks my heart. Every single one of the students I've had since I've been in our training program came to my program because they could not achieve success in the high school setting. As I mentioned at the onset of my talk tonight, I came here on behalf of many others, including parents of former LC students. Just last week at a funeral, a parent approached me and told me, and I quote, "The Learning Center saved my daughter. If it wasn't for Mr. Bradford and the teachers at the Learning Center, she would have never received a diploma." When I told my own students about the Learning Center ceasing to exist as we now know it next year, their comments included, "I never would have made it at the high school. I would have just cut or quit school, and I probably would have fought somebody every day." This is how many LC students perceive a move to the high school, which also brings the great concerns of a significant rise in feelings of anxiety among students and an increase in the amount of truancy issues, fights, and conceivably even more expulsions. I owed it to my students, most of all, to speak tonight and to pose these questions on their behalf. And so I kindly and respectfully ask, what is the plan for the reintegration back into the high school? And of even greater importance, what is Plan B for any student or students that for whatever reason do not achieve success here? Transparency and communication are crucial here, as our students as well as our staff have earned it and they deserve it. Next month, on June 1st, 2023, 2 of my students, who happen to be twins, will be in the first in their family on both sides to graduate from high school. If they were standing here right now, I can say with 100% certainty that they would tell you, as they have told me repeatedly, that this tremendous accomplishment of receiving a diploma would have never, ever been possible if they had been at the high school. Our kids in the Garfield Heights School District all deserve to learn in an environment that is best suited for their individual needs and capabilities. If we as a district want to continue to pride ourselves on doing what is truly best for students, I can only hope you genuinely and sincerely take to heart what I've tried to convey in my words here tonight. Thank you for your time as well as the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Wonderstock. Thank you very much for your comments, and we all know the passion that you have for our scholars and wanting the best for them. So I want to thank you for always sharing, what you feel in your heart. It goes a long way. So thank you. All right. And Ms. Wonderstock is the only person signed up this evening. All right, announcement of next board meeting. Before the meeting, I talked with Mr. Oko and Dr. Reynolds, and it looks as though there's some additional business that we will need to take care of prior to our next work session. So we need to look at our calendars and maybe get a tentative date, and we'll have to check with Ms. Daniels of coming together for a special board meeting before our work session, which is scheduled for June 12th. Are you looking at maybe next week? Because then we're getting into
Do we have one
graduation.
agenda item or multiple agenda items?
There are a few things that we need to make sure that we are, that came up at the last minute, and I didn't want to just throw it on without there being an opportunity for you all to see it first. So yeah, and including the item from the section 9.
Our tabled item.
Yes.
What is next Monday, which is the 22nd? How does that look?
I would be there.
Next Monday at 6 o'clock, would you be available?
27?
Yes.
Yeah, I should.
Would you probably be close to a 7 o'clock meeting?
No.
That's fine. That would help me.
7? Okay, so, and I will, 7 PM on May 22nd, and we will put that down tentatively and check with Mrs. Daniels to make sure that she's available. So we tentatively have a special board meeting scheduled for May 22nd at 7 PM. We also have our special board meeting work session June 12th at 6 PM. And we have our regularly scheduled board meeting on June 20th here at the boardroom. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:24.
So,
Second,
That was moved by Ms. Thomas and second by Ms. Morrison. Can I get roll call?
Ms. Thomas,
yes.
Ms. Morrison,
yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.